Okay, step 4 of the apron project is to take your 3 straps that you've just sewn across one short edge and one long edge, the long raw edge. Now what we want to do is we want to trim off some of the seam allowance. The seam allowance is from the seam to the edge of the fabric. So from the seam to the edge of the fabric, we used a 5/8 inch seam allowance. What we want to do is we want to take our shears and we want to reduce some of the bulk because we're going to turn this right side out. Make sure that you do not cut over that seam. If you cut over the seam, you're going to end up with a hole. So just on that corner, we want to trim, and we want to probably trim just the short edge a little bit, about half of the seam allowance off. Now we're ready to turn our strap. You wiggle on the sewn edge, you wiggle the fabric back and forth just enough to start turning it inside of itself. Some fabrics are easier to turn inside than others. Start on the sewn edge. Then I'm going to take this pencil stick. Okay, this is just a wood dowel. Your teacher has a classroom set of these. You're going to steal one or borrow one from her. You stick the dowel inside of that sewn edge and you just pull the fabric over the dowel. Some fabrics are easier than others, but you just pull that right out so that the pretty side of my fabric is now showing, and then you drop the dowel out the bottom. You want to take a moment before you head to the ironing board. This is why we reduced the amount of bulk that was on that seam allowance, because now all of that seam allowance fabric is on the inside. You can see I've got a semi-decent corner there, but this edge is kind of curved. So if you use just a straight pin and kind of just pull on the fabric, pull on the seam a little bit and kind of give it a little bit of a tug, and that will pull out the corner so you've got a nice sharp corner. You're going to make your way to the ironing board and you're going to press. Okay, this is a rounded strap. We don't want a rounded strap, we want a nice flat strap. We want to make sure that this seam right here that we just sewed is going to be right on the edge of our strap. So if you just wiggle the fabric back and forth until you get that seam exactly to the edge. We don't want it on the side of our strap, and then we're just going to press this into place. See, I can kind of see it starting to curve up a little bit. I don't want it on the top, I want it on the side. So I'm going to just do a couple of inches and then work my way down the strap so that I can get that seam exactly on the side of the strap. If you're just wiggling that fabric back and forth a little bit between your fingers, do about 6 inches at a time, you're going to have a nice even strap that is going to be the same width all the way down, and that strap is going to be nice and even. Especially the neck strap that you've got going up around your neck where people are actually going to see. Your waist straps are tied behind your back, so it's not as prevalent, but we still want it to be nice and even. What you do to one strap, you do to the other two. Once you've got all 3 straps to this point, you are ready for step 5.